morning or good evening, guys. Take your pick. Bear with me here. We're trying to get the camera situated here a little bit better. Leastwise, that's our goal. But anyhow, big guy, we've got you done. It's been kind of a crazy, hectic day, but as we talked earlier this week, I had most of this done. Basically, the only thing that's left now, I spent the last hour and a half going through and doing a little bit of tuning, and went ahead and installed a attenuator. I know that you had asked for this to be a high drive, so I went ahead and wanted to try to take care of you on that and give you a fairly decent bump as far as for the input. So I think we've got that accomplished. Grab a couple of zip ties here. No, we're not going to have a bunch of people in here, considering the fact that it's 1 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, I've been out here since since 2:30 this afternoon, and I've been trying to get down to my workbench again with everything that's been going on and just the overall clutter and what have you. So I got enough of my other power supply put together that I'm able to go ahead and get all the panels and stuff instead of them sitting all over the floor. They're all now back onto the cabinet, and I've got instead of all the power supplies sitting on the floor, in another pile, those are now all installed. So, just little things like that. Of course, I made a even bigger mess. You guys seen, we did some changes here on the workbench. Good morning, whoever's tuned in. So we've got a couple of them watching. So we're going to go ahead and get the connectors put on this, and we're going to get your video here shot and get this all squared away. There we go. A lot less glare. We're going to get your Anderson connector put on here real quick and go from there. I didn't see that part of the note whenever I was going through everything, and went back to double check because I actually had a different type of connector on here for me to go ahead and tune this out. So I took those off and thought, hey, let's just go ahead and finish up the end of the video here with putting the connectors on there. That way we can get you squared away, big guy. Okay. Good evening, Warren. table here. Just a minute. Way past your bedtime, huh? It's almost my bedtime. Well, I've got another 4 hours yet before my bedtime. But yeah, it's way later than I had anticipated on staying out here. But as soon as I get this done, I'm actually going to be starting in on the next project, which is for Big L. He's up north of me here in Indiana. So I'll be doing some work for another fellow Hoosier. But yeah, it's definitely been a day, that's for sure. Didn't do a whole lot out in the yard, but just all this stuff that's been going on and all the excess work. Front room still looks like a complete disaster. You can see all the boxes that I've got. Trying to recruit somebody here the other day to actually come in and help me clean up the upstairs and move stuff over into my daughter's room. She's moved out, so I was actually going to use that for storage so I could go ahead and get the other rooms finished out and get it painted. At least that was my goal. So that's going to be on hold for a little longer, I guess. Tell you, these connectors are sure hungry when it comes to solder. Okay. Do. I wonder if Three Mates went to bed on me yet. I know he's one that kind of stays up late. Not really looking forward to going back to work tomorrow. I don't feel like I've had any rest whatsoever. Let me know I'm live. This thing's crazy. Absolutely crazy. I'll put it up here. Okay. Wonder bar. Okay. It's definitely that time of the year you can see the flies. They're starting to wreak havoc, aggravation. Good evening, Wayne, or good morning, good afternoon. Depends on what part of the world you're in, I guess. There's a fly. Double check something here real quick. And we'll get into the come on. Hello, audio. Yep. Kick this carrier up just a little bit. Alrighty. Pull out one of our slugs. Get our 50 watt, put it in there, and that way we can show our radio drive here. And 25 will work. This is not a super high powered radio, but yet it kind of is. All right, so for this, we're using our President Walker. So what we're going to look at here is just the center meter right at the moment. I've got a 25 watt slug in 1X position for PEP right now. Radio does about 25 on the PEP, but it's a heavy hitter on the RMS. So put the amp off. Let's see, 25 watt. So yeah, about a watt dead key. Hello, audio. Audio. Right at 25. Let's look at it in RMS. Audio. 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 So about 15 bird is what we're going to actually be putting into this. So that's pretty healthy for, like I said, for just a input drive. You know, the walkers, like I said, they don't look great on the peak meter, but if you look at them on the bird and the RMS, like I said, they're pretty heavy hitter. So, all right. So let's go over here for a minute and take a look at the biasing. Let's see where we're at here. Okay, we'll turn the amp on. Hello, audio. Audio, audio. So right there where we need to be as far as for the classification that we're in. I know he said he wanted super clean, so pull this up here a little closer for you guys. All right, so on the spectrum analyzer, let's see, what is the bandwidth? Okay, so the span right now, we're set at 50 megahertz for the bandwidth. So the entire spectrum across here is 50 meg. Center frequency or principal frequency is going to be 27,205. See right there. Hello, hello, hello. Audio. So super, super clean. That's where we're going to be at on that. All right. So let's go through here. All right. Now let's get these cables here out of the way. It actually got warm enough today. I actually decided to go ahead and put in the air conditioner for out here. It was actually getting kind of warm, but it's been trying to rain off and on all day. It's finally decided to actually set in, so it is what it is. But anyhow, so we got our 5-watt slug in reverse going back to the radio, 5-watt slug in reverse coming back from the 5,000 watt bird dummy load, 1,000 watts in peak and 1,000 in RMS. So now the other thing, and I'll get into this here in just a minute, but we're going to go ahead and show you some numbers. Remember, we're actually running this with about 15 bird going in. Hello, audio, 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 audio. So about 420 on the RMS, the PEP. Hello, audio, audio, audio. So about 675. There again, you got to remember this radio is not a huge peak meter, radio. It's just mainly RMS. 5-watt slug going back to the bird dummy load. Audio, audio. So 3/10 of a watt reflect coming back to that. Now we're going to get over here to the input reflect. Now this is actually going to show a little bit more reflect on the input than what there actually is. Reason why is because of the attenuator, and we'll get into that here in just a minute. But hello, audio. So we've got 1 watt of reflect going back to it. Now that is wide open. And we're going to back the amplifier all the way off. Audio. So about a 1/2 watt. So we still got a variable in there, but what we've done is we actually created about an 8 dB attenuator that we actually put in this. So 3.05 Monday. Okay. But anyways, we went ahead and utilized what was already in here. Because of the way they have this set up right here coming off your variable originally, it comes up to approximately 33 ohms. So I went ahead and typed that into the calculator for an abridged attenuator, or what they call pi network attenuator. So that's what we've actually got going on here. So we've got a resistor coming off of here going to ground on the input first, and then on the other side going down. Now what that's actually allowing us to do is go ahead, since you wanted this to be kind of a high drive radio, I figured you were going to want to hit this with a radio that did a little bit more. Now the other side of that too is if you need more attenuation, and that's the reason why we just left the variable in there, and worked off of it. Is this way you can actually roll it back. So if you need more attenuation than the 8 dBs of attenuation that we've got here in the system, that should go ahead and suffice for everything that you need, because by the time you actually do the rollback, you're actually winding up somewhere in the neighborhood of about about 12 and a half dB on the attenuation. So it's a pretty good, pretty good substantial amount. You are going to be able to adjust the amplifier to, uh, like I said, take a little bit more, a little bit more input drive because of it. So, we had to kind of play with the numbers a little bit. The RF calculators are not always perfect, and the reason why is because you still have 1 to 5% tolerance that is going to be within, the components being used for that. So, to try to keep everything happy as far as on both ends, I mainly concentrated on the lower end as far as with your attenuation, so that we could go ahead and go from there. But that way you can actually just start rolling that up based on the amount of drive that you actually are going to be putting into this. So we've got the bias all set up the same way that I do in the Evolution series. The only difference is we've got the Pi network going on over here. Part of it's the fact that since everything was already pre-built in this, it wasn't as easy to go back and do it essentially the same way that I normally would. So, we kind of had to go back to the old school method. So that's what we've got going on here. And then we went ahead and pulled out your factory relay, or I shouldn't say factory, but your original relay. We did go ahead and go with the 3-pole relay, so that you've got good separation in between the input and the output. And then had a couple other things. The relay, it was actually kind of a good thing that we went ahead and replaced the relay. This is most of what's left over from your repair. So we'll just kind of go through some of this here with you. A lot of it has to do with the fact that it's got the old spongy paper type adhesive. So the relay was just in there kind of flopping. Another thing that we did, since we went ahead and had to replace this to go ahead and do the biasing without having to put any kind of extra relays and all the other stuff in there, we went ahead and put a stubbing diode across the replacement, which is what I typically do in there. And all that's going to do is help save the life of the transistor that you're using to actually energize the coil on that. So that's where we're at with that. Of course, there's a few little odds and ends that are just actual trash. Went ahead and replaced your output, or excuse me, not your output, but your main feed wires here. So you've got 2 double wires that are upgraded from this 18 gauge that was in there. So we've got 2 16 gauge that are feeding your transistors, so that you can get some good power. Let's see. Went ahead and replaced your connector in the back, from this old rotted rubber O-ring that they use. The grommets like this, they do work, but if you have it in a mobile application, over time these do rot, and when they start to separate, you actually don't realize that you're actually cutting into your cables. So we've actually got a heavy-duty cable gland. Since you wanted everything beefed up as good as we could make it, we went ahead and put you a heavy-duty cable gland in there. Another thing too was your feedbacks. I went ahead and replaced those. You had one that the capacitor didn't look the best. It was actually a little darkened. So rather than take a chance, this is one of those that it's another thing that's kind of cheap. So we just went ahead and replaced all of these. That way we don't have to worry about any issues with, potentially bad capacitor that's in the circuit. So all that's been taken care of. Cleaned up the board a little bit. We also went ahead and had to replace your input coax. And the reason why is because of where they've got so much of this stripped back. We actually had to take some of that away in order to go ahead and create a better input match. It actually caused way too much inductance on the system and wasn't allowing it to go ahead and lay down. So I took care of that for you as well. And then the other thing, we have a jumper here. This was something else too. And it's actually a really good thing that we went ahead and sent this in. But this one's not too bad. This one was on the input. If you push it hard enough, it will go in. The first half of this, it just literally falls off. Your output coax. In fact, that one, I still got a little splatter ball on that one. And maybe the reason why that one was tight is what it is. Yeah. This should not just drop on there. So we had no resistance, so there's very, with the exception of the ground, there was nothing that actually was making any kind of real permanent connection on the inside. So, we took care of that. Like I said, the other one wasn't much better. I didn't realize that I had a splatter ball on that other one. But, like I said, went ahead and replaced those. That way we don't have to worry about any issues there. But other than that, big guy, you're pretty much ready to rock and roll. I know you're going to be using this on sideband mostly. Speaking of sideband, you've already got a delay in there, so this is biased whether you're on AM or sideband. So the sideband switch, all that actually is just for your delay. So, hello, audio. So, nice soft delay. Preamp is still working beautiful. Go ahead and pull out here. You can usually hear the difference. Not a lot here on the dummy load, but preamp's still working good. But other than that, big guy, you're ready to rock and roll. The only thing left for me to do is put the top on it, and we'll call this baby done. So, all righty, big guys. Like I said, I'll clean up the workbench. We'll put the top on this. I'll get it set up off to the side, and then I'll figure you up a bill tomorrow. I'm going to go ahead and start in on the next project. So give me about 5-10 minutes, guys, and I'll be right back. Like I said, I'm going to put the tin on. We're going to put some new screws on the sides and in the top, and like I said, get this set off on the other side, and then we're going to show you the next project, and it's quite literally a project. So stay tuned, guys. I appreciate it. Catch you in a little bit.